Hello, hi, Heidi ho, and welcome to Cast That Movie, a podcast where two dumb shits in the middle of the country make pretend like they can go and get all Hollywood all of a sudden with no experience and no resume. But basically what happens here, for those unfamiliar, is we pick a failed cinematic project from the past, we re-envision and recast it, and then we have so much fun doing that, we keep rolling, and we pick an original project of a film we would like to see made, and we cast that as well. We also play games, and in fact, this episode, we have a new game that we have not played before, so that should be fun. Joining me, my name, I should say, is Joad McDougal. I have a habit of not always introducing myself, I've learned. And I am joined, as always, by the Hall to my Oats, Tom Van Horten. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Joad. How we doing, buddy?
Oh, we're hanging in there, buddy.
Yeah, it's good, pal.
How about you? How are you doing?
Better. I'm much better. I have a little bit of a cough, but no, I'm much higher spirits than the last time we recorded. So, yeah, good to go.
Good deal. All right, so I suppose we should really quickly talk about what we're going to be doing on this episode, which is our 8th episode now. We are going to start when we do our recast with The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I'm so upset with you for picking this one, dude.
Yeah, it's we've had some very this one was a little bit more difficult, I will say, and we'll get into it more obviously later. But yeah, this one I struggled a bit, and it sounds like you did too. So that's good. We put our work in. And then for the original project, Tom, why don't you tell them what that is?
That is going to be the origin story of SNL, which is going to be really interesting. But really, I think in order to make it where you guys are going to understand it, we really picked a lot of the first cast members, but we'll talk about what the origin was and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Right, and for those that are not familiar for some reason, SNL, of course, is Saturday Night Live. So yeah, that's where we're going to go. I'd say compared to some of the topic matter that we've gone over in past episodes, I think we're keeping it a little light this go around. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree, and I think we needed that after last episode.
Yeah, the Island Dr. Moreau, that was a heavy one. Speaking of that episode, why don't we jump right in here to corrections, something that we seem to always need to do at the start of a fresh episode when looking back at our previous. I will go first this time because I have one that I realized after the fact. The Island of Dr. Moreau, that was 1997, correct?
It was 96, 97. I believe. I thought it was 96.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 96.
Okay, I'm pretty sure, and now I'm not so sure, but I think I was saying 1997's The Island of Dr. Moreau over and over again. Okay. And, next episode I might need to correct my correction. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I think I got, unless you can think of anything where I screwed up big time.
No. As a matter of fact, I was racking my brain on corrections because I had like 16 pages of notes. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I have corrections this time around, because of how much research I actually did, and I wasn't just going off of like my knowledge at the time and my brain stew that I got going on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was a fresh story for both of us, and you included. Of course, you do the research on the projects far more than I do. I do very, very little, if any. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say there's more put on your plate, but it sounds like you, despite not feeling well, knocked it out of the park last week, and you got an A. You got an A plus. Sounds
well,
like.
Thank you. It's about time I can have one where I didn't fucking make a mistake.
Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it?
It took 8 episodes or 7 episodes, but we did it.
We're hitting our stride, man. We're hitting our stride.
Yeah. We are.
Okay, so yeah, that's what we got going on here. Should we tease what we're doing for the game? Because those that do listen know that every episode, except for the retrospective, the game we've played has been is this Where Are They Now, which it's a lot of fun. I think
No.
we can agree we've kind of dug deep and maybe needed a little break from it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we tease it. I think we let that stew. People can figure out what the game's going to be when we get there. It's going to be different. It's going to be
Teaser.
different. But what I do want to say is we normally do it at the end, but I really want to, if you don't mind, before we get to our first ad, I would just like to tell people where they can find us right off the bat. This episode's at the end. So you can find us at the joedown.blog. You can find us on SoundCloud, Cast That Movie. You can find us on YouTube, Cast That Movie. And we have a Facebook page. And actually, Joe, you didn't know this, but what I have going on is I have a little ad going on right now, and to see if people want to ask us questions while we're recording. So while we're doing this, I'm also keeping a track on Facebook and seeing who is commenting on our Facebook page right now on questions they want to ask us.
Oh, fun. Do we have any questions so far?
We do. We have one, and we'll get to it after the ad.
All right, fair enough. Well, speaking of which, why don't we get this first ad out of the way, and then we can come back and we can dive headfirst into the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, and I guess fan questions as well. So we're changing it all up today. But we'll be back here in a few. With all this time stuck inside, now is the perfect time to join the Fan Scholastic Documentary Club and receive brain-building documentaries on DVD delivered straight to your home. For only $27.95 a month, you will receive this month's newest addition to the FSDC collection, Making It Count, the humble and brief journey of the noble fruit fly, as well as a bonus DVD of our most popular title to date, Sheep on Sheepin' On, the history of Austrian shepherding. Homeschooling your kids got you feeling overwhelmed? Supplement your FSDC Club membership with the Kiddo Package for an additional $22.95 a month. Then, let this month's title, Bacteria Bob Sets Up Camp on a Puppy's Tongue, do the teaching for you. Join now, and we'll also send you an exclusive Ladybug keychain that is no longer available in stores or on Amazon. The Fan Scholastic Documentary Club, because everything is worth knowing once.
Love, it lasts in the world so sweetly so. It's name on each breath that leaves my lungs. I recall every virtue embraced in a man.
And welcome back, everybody, to Cast That Movie, episode 8. Lucky number 8, as I like to say. All right, Tom, before the break, you were teasing a new segment, I guess we would have to call it, where you are receiving questions in real time from fans on our Facebook page, and I honestly didn't expect to get any at all, and you got one already. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I do. This comes from one of our big fan favorites, who listens to every one of our shows. Of course, call out his name here. This is Joe Fremming, who also does the Twin Peaks podcast with me, asking which cast member of Airwolf will I cast this time? And, this particular route, I can give you, we try not to duplicate. So we've already done Ernest Borgnine. Mm-hmm. We've already done Jan Michael Vincent. However, there is a gentleman by the name of Alec Post who I've not casted yet. He will not be in this one, but do not be surprised you don't see him in the next couple episodes.
Okay. And we do duplicate at time, and we just try not to get carried away with the same actor and over. But we've had a couple where we've used the same actor twice. I don't know if we've ever chosen the same one ourselves or if we've just chosen one the other has chosen.
Yeah, I can say we have done that. Mm-hmm. We have also tried to, I believe I have tried to bring back people that we did not take in a role and bring them back and say, okay, they didn't work in that role. What about this one? Because I do like those actors, and I think you've done that as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I will say, not to spoil anything, but I can think of a couple offhand that I did take this time that I believe you've chosen in the past. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's just you pick, go with your gut, I guess, is and I have reasons for it. It wasn't just, oh, Tom picked this guy or this girl, and well, I'm going to do it too. No context given. You know, I mean, there's reason for it, so I'll defend doing it, but it's certainly not something we encourage per se.
No.
No, you're right. No, absolutely not.
No.
So let's jump in. We actually, for the first time, have casting news to talk about that piggybacks on the previous episode's casting news. So a bit of a sequel to last episode's casting news. Tom, I'm going to let you introduce it.
Oh, God. All right. So we talked about it, and it's the Tiger King. Mm-hmm. And last time we talked, they had decided that Kate McKinnon was going to be Carol Baskins. Carol Baskins. That bitch, Carol Baskins. She fucking did it. And we were riffing on who we thought we would like to see be the Tiger King. Right. I hate this news, so I'm going to let you do it.
We're just going to keep passing it back and forth until one of us has to eventually.
Yep, I'm passing the ball to you, Mark. I am Tommy with soap. Passing the ball to you.
Oh, hi. Okay, so
Joad.
We had talked about maybe not so much who we wanted. I think we mostly talked about last episode who has been rumored or who what the Twitter sphere is kind of championing. Ed Norton, David Spade, I think Dax Shepard were the big three. Yep. None of them ended up landing the role. Instead, the role went to Nicolas Cage as Joe Exotic. I mean, we've talked in the past about our Nick Cage fatigue a little bit, and how it's just getting to be a little too much, and like do something else once in a while. I don't know. But I mean, even if he's not gonna, I don't understand why. I guess we assume it's Netflix, right? We
assume it's Netflix because they have everything. Yeah, they have the documentary. They have the extended episodes. It's assumed that this is going to be a Netflix thing. Yes.
Right. For one thing, Nicolas Cage, I don't think is known for very good voice work. He kind of sounds like Nicolas Cage for the most part in all of his films, right? Mm-hmm. Joe Exotic's got a very, very distinct voice, and it's up a little higher than Nicolas Cage's, voice, which is kind of always down here. Even when he's yelling, he doesn't it doesn't raise up octaves on the yell, So I'm curious to know. I mean, I can see them getting there. Cosmetically, looks-wise, I can see them making that work, I guess. Although I don't know, I want to say Nick Cage feels like he's taller than Joe Exotic, but whatever. But yeah, I'd say my biggest concern with this pick, other than just the Nick Cage fatigue that accompanies every time I hear his name now, is the impression he doesn't seem versatile enough for me, or to me, to be able to pull that off. What do you think?
All right. I am gonna I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, even though I don't want to. All right. I'm gonna come from it from a different angle. Mm-hmm. Nick Cage has done a lot of movies, okay? And he hasn't always been kind of the joke that he is today. Right? He's been in on the joke for a long time. But I just, I'm going to go through a little bit, because this is going to be a shorter episode, we both believe, and just kind of bring up some movies that he was really good in, okay? And just give me 1 second here. I want to pull it up. Here we go. I personally loved Raising Arizona, right? Okay. I think he did great in that. Mm-hmm. You had Vampire's Kiss, where he started to really show off his fucking batshit. You've seen him do things in Leaving Las Vegas, right? He hasn't always, been terrible. Matchstick Men wasn't bad either. So I don't it really depends. I mean, he was great in Kick-Ass. I actually really enjoyed him as Big Daddy in Kick-Ass.
Yeah, well, I agree.
So you don't, Joe wasn't a bad movie either. You don't know what Nick Cage you're going to get. And that's where I think this is really going to depend. Mm-hmm. Are we going to get fucking Wicker Man? Nick Cage? Are we going to get the Frozen Ground, Ghost Rider Nick Cage? Or are we going to get, I'm seriously in my role Nick Cage?
Right.
I don't know. So I think this is a really iffy choice. I don't see him as Joe Exotic. So that's going to be tricky for me. I think I'm going to see Nick Cage unless he can really immerse himself in the role. But is this a role he's going to immerse himself in, or is this a cash grab? I don't know. I have a feeling we're just going to get batshit Nick Cage, and it's going to be Nick Cagey cringy.
It just feels like this project happened too fast. And it's like, no matter how, obviously we're still living under the reign of Voldemort. Mm-hmm. But even when we, are able to defeat Voldemort, or at least, keep him at bay, it's going to be a while before this, hits production and then, wraps and then gets edited and post-production. Like, there was no reason to rush this at all. Like, the Tiger King thing, I would argue, is already kind of petered out. Like, most people who are going to watch it have watched it, and they kind of had that moment. And now it's like, well, it doesn't matter if you put it out in 6 months or in a year and a half. Honestly, I don't think so. Why this rush to keep it relevant?
I think it's because now, from my understanding, it's not a movie. It's an 8-episode series,
right?
And
a limited series, right?
It's a limited event series, right? And I think Netflix has really been struggling. The numbers are out there, things of that nature. And now, again, I'm believing now, this is
even during the age of Voldemort. You think they're struggling? What else?
They're struggling. Because you got Disney, you got the Disney, you got CBS, you got Hulu, you got all these things, and Netflix was king for a long time. But yeah, they've been struggling. So I think this is like Netflix is like, whoa, we caught something here and we're going to run with it.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle.
Lightning in a bottle. And I think they're going, let's just keep this going as fast as possible because this has got everyone's attention right now. I mean, the Trump and his son and everyone were cracking jokes about it with reporters when they should have been taking other things seriously.
Right, like Voldemort.
Like Voldemort. I mean, that's where we're at this point.
Right. Okay, well, that's enough about that then, I guess. I think both of us have our expectations. I'm going to say mine are low. It sounds like yours are not high either.
No. I have one other bit of news I wanted to bring up, which is a follow-up. It's not necessarily casting news, but it is something that we talked about in a different movie. Okay. And I believe we talked about in our retrospective with Joe, which was the Tommy Wiseau documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Tommy Wiseau lost the lawsuit and is ordered to pay $700,000 in damages to the production company and the documentary company for preventing this from coming out. Because of how many years he's been doing all these things and with these frivolous lawsuits. So a Canadian judge, where this was all being presided on, ruled in favor of the documentary company and ordered that Tommy Wiseau pay $700,000 worth of damages.
Are you saying we're finally going to learn where he came from and how he made?
They already leaked it. If you want to know, I can give you the spoiler, or I can tell you a word that it rhymes with. If you want to know that and play that game.
Okay, give me the word it rhymes with.
Poland.
You say Poland?
I said Smoland. It rhymes with Smoland.
Oh, you see, he's Polish.
He is Polish.
Oh, really?
He is from the land of Poland.
Okay, and how did he make his wealth?
That I don't know. I just know I don't know much about it. That's all going to come out in the documentary.
All right. That's
So
something to look forward to.
that is something to look forward to. We need to see that. Maybe if Voldemort's still going on, setting this aside, folks, Joad and I are friends in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a group of friends that we meet together with on Saturdays. If that comes out early enough, while Voldemort's still going around, that should be a viewing party we have.
Yeah, I would be behind that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, should we get moving on? That's all I got.
Let's do it. Let's jump then into our recast project of the week. And as I stated earlier, the film is The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. And what year was this? It was 2000? 2000. Okay, 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before you kind of give your rundown on it, I'm going to kind of do my thing because I remember seeing this when it came out around that time. I would say when it hit DVD or whatever. We watched this in a film studies class of all things, and I remember watching it and thinking, this isn't bad. This isn't as terrible as I would have expected it to be. I mean, some of the jokes actually landed. There's a lot of fourth walls broken, a lot of irreverence like that. I didn't think it was a bad movie. However, it did bomb badly. It was panned pretty badly by critics and audiences alike. But why don't you flesh out a little bit the more sordid details?
Okay, well, I'm going to do a little backup here, just kind of explaining Rocky and Bullwinkle was a cartoon in 1965.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the...
Did you ever watch it?
I did. Actually, I watched a lot of the reruns as a kid. Mm-hmm. My mother was a huge fan of it when she was a child, and so I watched that. And
I did too. Yeah, I did too. I remember it used to be on like a double or header or whatever you call it, like back to back with Dudley Do-Right, which I liked more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I watched it and laughed at it back in the days. So yeah, I had that childlike. It wasn't one of my go-to shows. It wasn't Saved by the Bell,
right?
but it was on my radar in my youth for sure.
Yeah, but Rocky and Bullwinkle, Danger Mouse, and Scooby Doo were all on my radar, and Voltron. I loved a lot of that stuff. So, so there's a bit of a story there, but I'm not going to get it. I'll just tell it briefly. So much like Batman and Robin or Batman, there's some background of whether or not Jay Ward, who had created Rocky and Bullwinkle, was crediting people for their work towards it. And there's a documentary and a story about that. But so really, it was Jay Ward and this other guy, Bill Scott, that came up with Rocky and Bullwinkle. But Jay Ward has the majority stockholder on it, and he passed away in 1989. And his daughter, Tiffany, got the rights to everything.
Tiffany.
And in 1991, she signed a licensing deal between Jay Ward Productions and Universal to start getting these movies out. Now, there was a unknown or a very little known movie called Boris and Natasha in 1992 that went straight to Showtime, which starred Sally Kellerman and Dave
Thomas.
Dave Thomas, thank you.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to go to the theaters, wasn't going to do anything, and so they sat on this deal for a little while. And then in 1999, they decided, okay, we got this franchise, we created this licensing deal, let's start using it. So they did Dudley Do-Right with Brendan Fraser, and that only had a $9.9 million gross.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, that didn't do well. And they decided, let's just go straight for Rocky and Bullwinkle. People will know. So it was a $76 million deal, and it was co-financed by Capella International, which received its capital from a German tax shelter fund, Casey Medlin. So a lot of what we're finding out is a lot of these movies that fail make bad decisions on this.
Right.
So between Universal and Capella, they plan to do a long series of co-financing partnerships. However, because of the two movies that came about, which were The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and the Stallone disaster, I See You, also known as Detox, which was so bad that Universal refused to release it and sold it to Blockbuster. So that fucked the deal. So The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle really, was part of Universal's plan to bring back all these old television shows from the into the 90s. They tried with Flipper, Sergeant Bilko, Leave It to Beaver, McHale's Navy, and Rocky and Bullwinkle. This was part of what their whole thing that they wanted to do, was bring back nostalgia in the 90s, and no one was having it at that time. So that didn't help. But what also didn't help was they released it on June 30th of 2000. And it was sandwiched between The Patriot and one other movie, The Perfect Storm, and Chicken Run. It didn't have a chance when it came out. And it was written by playwright Kenneth Lonergan, who would later that same year get an Oscar nod for You Can Count on Me. But everyone involved agrees that this was a cash grab, that the script wasn't very good. Who was fearless leader was one Robert De Niro, and we'll get into. He was one of the producers for the movie. He wanted to see this get done because it was a thing of his childhood. But everyone, Jason Alexander later came out and even apologized for the movie. Everyone that was on board, the screenwriter included, basically just said this was a cash grab to get just it out the door and money. And one of the people that were not recasting, I'm going to kind of get into that, was Piper Perabo. Yes, thank you. And she deserved better. But yeah, we're not recasting her, but I wouldn't
have that character in my version is why I
would agree with you, but I think she was the only one, honestly, that was in it, like, to be in it, because she was really trying to get her career going, and everyone else was like, this is just money. So that's really the story of it. I mean, it was a dud for a $76 million project. The domestic run was only $26 million. And they dumped the movies overseas, essentially, and tried to get what they could off of that. And and it was also directed by a guy by the name of McAniff, who's only directed two movies. That was Cousin Betty and Rocky and Bullwinkle. And other than that, he's really known for stage acting, although he was the producer for The Iron Giant. But he Rocky and Bullwinkle was like his last chance, and he's like, you're out. Sure. So yeah, this ruined people's career. Jason Alexander's movie run didn't do. I mean, Rene Russo after this didn't have a whole lot. Piper, she was hurt. So yeah, I mean, this was just bad all around and almost damn near sunk Universal.
Yeah, and I still maintain that it's not a terrible movie. I mean, it has its moments, which a lot of, especially in that time, a lot of this type of movie, I'd say kids movies just for shorthand, but there's more to this than that. But it's better than the average, I would say, kids movie. It's like better than Dudley Do-Right or George of the Jungle or the Flintstones. I mean, all these movies that the Scooby-Doo, all these movies that they made live action versions of are worse than The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's not a great movie, but I mean, I remember I expected to hate it, and I didn't hate it. And when I go in and expect to hate something and I don't, I remember that almost as well as if I go in and I love something. It's the expectations weren't met. Or if I expect to like something and I dislike it, I should say, where your expectations aren't met. It's just the opposite direction of what you're more accustomed to. But in this, I still remember seeing it this many years later. But yes, I mean, could have been better. sounds like they had to patchwork a lot of it and rush it, and got a lot of guest stars, a lot of cameos though, huh?
There's tons of cameos in this. John Goodman, Whoopi Goldberg, just to name a few. I mean, huge amount of cameos in this movie. And Billy Crystal was a cameo in it. Let me just pull up a few of it here. Randy Quaid, Paget Brewster, Janine Garofalo, Carl Reiner, Jonathan Winters, David Allen Greer, Keenan and Kale. I mean, this had a lot of Jeffrey Ross. This had this had a lot of people in it. And really what came down to this one was honestly the writing. I mean, the music wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was done by Mark Mothersbaugh, who did was from Devo, and it's done a lot of music. And Yo Gabba Gabba, he did a tons amount of the music for Gabba Gabba. I think what really came down to this one was the piss poor writing, and everyone that was involved were just on board, and no one argued it. Like, just, okay, this is just what it is. And, you know, they thought just because it was Rocky and Bullwinkle, that was going to be it.
Yep. All right, well, then let's talk about what we would do different, shall we?
Yes.
Well, how would we have saved this if we could travel back in time to, 1999 is probably when they filmed it. So we could travel back in time to 1999 and all of a sudden be in charge of the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle live action mixed with animation adaptation for the big screen. What would we do different? Why don't we start with you? Who would you put in charge? Who would be your visionary to make this as good as it could possibly be?
So there's only been a handful of movies that have done this right, or have done this at all. You had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you had Cool World, and you had a horror movie called Bad Tunes or Evil Tunes. I've seen all three that I know of. And I would put it in the hands of the person that did it the most successful. My director is going to be Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, from Roger Rabbit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I went a different direction, and my criteria is different. I picked a set of directors. And, you know, I don't know. Now that I think about it, it might be a failing formula based on my logic, but let me just talk it out and see if I can make sense of it. So I picked the Farrelly brothers. The reason why I did, they were obviously really a hot commodity at that time. This would be post Dumb and Dumber. I believe something about Mary, I think, was already released. So they were kind of on the top of the comedy map. But one thing that they did later that is kind of the reason why I picked this is they did an adaptation or a big film treatment of the Three Stooges, which also didn't do well. So that's where I'm like hesitant, like, wow, my logic, you know, I mean, we want this to be a success, right? But I thought was very underrated for what it was. So that was my reasoning in picking them. You know, I'm not going to lie, I don't love my choice, so I'll probably end up giving it to you. But that's that. I went with them. I couldn't think of anything better.
Okay, when we get to the end here, I'm going to ask this question now for you to think about and answer when we get to our things, because this was an issue I had with the movie, which was the villains were made to be real and not cartoons for most of it, and Rocky and Bullwinkle were left as cartoons. I would like to know what your direction with that would have been. As you think about this, because that's something I want to discuss when we get into our picks. All right, who would you pick as your Rocky?
Okay, I can already tell you. I don't need to think about it. I casted it based on the villains being live action, and I don't think the setup of it was bad. I just think the execution didn't land as much as it needed to. So I don't know that I would have changed the gimmick of the movie. So I went with a similar gimmick. I didn't really change anything around. Like I said, I'm willing to drop characters. I think excessive cameos get annoying, so I wouldn't go with that. But certainly better writing, make it funnier. That's where Farrelly Brothers would come in handy. But I did for my Rocky. I'll say this up right away. For both my Rocky and my Bullwinkle, I went with tried and true, proven voice actors.
Okay.
That could find a similar voice of that. I'd be confident they could duplicate it or get close enough. Because I don't know if you know this, but the voice of Rocky in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle is the same lady that did it back in the 50s.
I did know that. Yes.
Okay. Which I think the Rocky in the movie just sounds so tired, and why wouldn't she be? She's like 90 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I say fresh blood to that, and I would say bring in Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson.
Bart Simpson. Okay. I did something that I broke one of our rules. I left her. I left Rocky as June Foray because I felt that it was true to the original. And that I didn't mind her as Rocky. I just think the script was uninspiring. And I think had she had better lines, better things to work with, I think she would have been fine. And normally we have to recast, but I'm not going to take someone who was the original away from someone and replace them if they're available.
I mean, I get the point then, I win.
Yes, absolutely.
I respect you.
Absolutely. That wasn't a throwaway. That was just me sticking to what I believe needs to be done. I knew I was going to lose that one right away because it goes against the rules, but I didn't feel like that Rocky needed to be replaced.
So who's doing Bullwinkle next to her?
So the guy that did Bullwinkle is no longer around. I picked another tried and true voice actor for this one.
Okay.
And I picked Frank Welker, and if you don't know who Frank Welker is, he does the voice of Fred Jones, and it kind of has that bassier tone to him, and has been doing voice work for Cartoon Network, Hanna-Barbera, everybody. I mean, he is, you know him even though you don't know him. Mm-hmm. I will just run through real quick some of the characters that he has done. He did several of the Decepticons. He did Megatron, Soundwave, Skywarp, Mix. He did. He's just a tremendous voice actor. He was Stripe in Gremlins. He was the Mogwai. He's done screams. He's done things for. Sound effects in movies. You wouldn't know this. He was the monkey sounds in Raiders of the Lost Ark in the 70s. I think he was the Graboids in Tremors.
What?
Yeah. Fred Welker was the Graboids in Tremors. The sounds that the Graboids make, that was him.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just think he could find himself to an adequate Bullwinkle just based on his wide.
Yes. I have a correction. I'm sorry. He was Scooby-Doo, not Fred Jones. He was Scooby-Doo.
Oh.
He does the voice of Scooby.
Okay.
And I think he could translate that to Bullwinkle very well.
So I went with a voice actor that I already said that what it was going to be when I gave my Rocky pick. And I kept it in the Simpsons family. I went with Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson, and about 5 million other characters on the show. Mm-hmm. Just again, I can totally I have 100% faith he'd find himself to doing an adequate Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
So I got to really ask you a quick question. At any point when you were casting this, I think we both had good picks for Bullwinkle, guys that could get there. Did you ever once consider Dave Coulier?
No.
No? Didn't even cross your mind.
Didn't even cross my mind that would be Dave Coulier. You know what? He can be wrapped up in a fucking Alanis Morris song for the rest of his life for all I give a fuck about that guy. I'm not a Dave Coulier fan.
No, I get it. But he can do a mean Bullwinkle. That's kind of his shtick on the show. So I'm just surprised that you didn't even consider him. But
no, did you?
I considered him. I obviously didn't rest on him, but I thought, and I'm like, I don't. I think,
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't pull the trigger on the Coulier. I done it on the Stamos. The Coulier was a bridge too far for me.
I can get that. All right. So who's your fearless leader then?
Sure. So for my fearless leader, I wanted somebody. First off, with my roster of villains, I wanted to keep it very accurate to the height differential in the cartoon. And in the cartoon, Natasha is by far the tallest.
Is by far the tallest.
Boris is by far the shortest, and Fearless Leader is actually right in there in between. Now, in De Niro and Rene Russo, I think, are probably right around the same height, so you didn't get that differential in that version. So I went with a shorter actor, not a super short actor, but he's, I believe, 5'8", so not very tall either. But he's also a guy that can do a bajillion impressions. I think he could nail a Russian accent. He's good with makeup, getting him to look like, I think, any kind of role you need him to look like. So I went with Mike Myers.
Okay. All right. Okay. I can see that. Okay.
How about you?
Okay.
Worst Joe Pesci impression.
Worst Joe Pesci ever. I debated because I wanted to get people that I still was going back and forth even before we were doing this. Is like, are they going to be live action or are they going to be cartoons? And I still don't know. But I wanted to pick people, at least if I was going to keep them as actors, I wanted to then bring in the actors that could do the voices and things like that. Fearless Leader is an older guy. And I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted to have an older actor to do it. And I went with Gene Hackman.
Okay. All right, well then, what about Natasha? Who's your Natasha?
I went with. I'm not proud of this pick, but looking at how weird Natasha was in the cartoons and everything like that, I went with Helena Bonham Carter.
Okay.
And what'd you do for Natasha?
For Natasha, I wanted a tall actress. I mean, not like, abnormally tall, but a taller actress. Definitely taller than Mike Myers and my Boris. So I went with somebody that I'm a huge fan of. I went with Allison Janney. At that point, she was on The West Wing. She played C.J. Craig.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
Then did Juno and a million other movies after.
A million other things after.
One, yeah. So yeah, just a big fan of hers. So, and she fits the bill, and I think I could see her doing a Russian accent. I think she could pull it off. And then she can be very funny. So
yes,
that's added bonus. For my Boris, then, I went super short.
Okay.
I went with Danny DeVito, which is one of the picks that you picked previously.
Yes, Danny DeVito. Okay. I went more portly.
Okay.
And someone that I think can do really good with accents, and I went with Jack Black.
Okay, Jack Black, 2000.
Yeah, Jack Black, 2000. He was, I think at that point, he was still, I think he did Never Ending Story 3, where he played the nasty.
I was going to say High Fidelity would be right around that time, too.
Yeah, High Fidelity around that time. Let me see what else he was doing in 2000. In 2000, he was doing...
Well, they had the Tenacious D TV show, right?
Yep, they were doing Tenacious D. He did High Fidelity in 2000, and then he was just doing Saving Silverman as JD.
Sure. Okay. All right, let's talk about our picks, huh?
Yes.
So, director, I think I've already conceded I'm going to give you director. You had George Zemeckis. I had the Farrelly brothers.
Right, Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, what did I say? George Zemeckis?
You said George Zemeckis. I'm not sure who that is, but he could do it too. He could do a worse job.
Maybe he's like the untalented brother or the talented brother that like Robert stole all his ideas.
Stole all his ideas from the repressed gaslit brother.
Yeah. Poor George. I'm feeling so bad for this makeup Zemeckis brother that we just created on the spot out of whole cloth.
He's the Clint of the Zemeckis brother. Oh, George, we love you.
All right, so yeah, I'm giving you Robert Zemeckis on that one. So there's not really any reason to discuss that.
Nope. I gave you Rocky. No reason to discuss.
Right. So then Bullwinkle now. This is a little more interesting. So we got two tried and true talented voice actors that, I mean, I just, based on the resume of your guy, and you certainly know the resume of my guy, I think they'd both be good picks. I think either of them could do it. So I think that's a draw.
I think that's a draw.
I think we both were fishing from the same well there. I can't say one of ours is better than the other. So, Fearless Leader though. So, yeah, this one, Mike Myers for me.
Yep. And Gene Hackman for me.
You think Gene Hackman can do a Russian accent?
I do. I think Gene Hackman's very talented. My concern with Mike Myers would be the only thing I could think of in terms of ever seeing him like in a uniform and doing things like that, and when he did that terrible British accent in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, I love that. I thought that was brilliant.
I thought that was a terrible cameo. Oh. That's me. That's me.
Sure.
But I don't think Gene Hackman would ever do Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I don't know. This was right around Welcome to Mooseport, right?
Oh God, this was right around Welcome to Mooseport, wasn't it? Yeah.
That the moose subgenre.
Maybe he would have, and maybe that's why subconsciously I thought of Gene Hackman. Was because of it. I could have done Brian Dennehy like Joe wanted us to do for Frankenheimer, but no, I think that. I mean, you could put the hard part's going to be the makeup job. Making Mike Myers in 2000 look like an old Russian Nazi.
They made him look in Austin Powers. They made him look like that old Swedish guy, right?
They did. So, all right, I'll give it to you because I think Mike Myers would do it over Gene Hackman. I think Gene Hackman would have walked on the project.
Yeah. Natasha, then I had Allison Janney. You had Allison Janney. You had
Allison
Helena
Carter. I'm not a fan of mine, but Natasha is a weird character. And has always been weird. She's always been kind of the oddball of the group, and that's why I thought Helena could play a much more villainous, evil, character. That's why I chose her.
Sure. Yeah, I'm keeping mine.
That's fine. But I'll give you yours.
Boris, Danny DeVito. For me, you had Jack Black. Yeah, I don't care. I'll give you Jack Black on that one. We already picked DeVito for Mario. He's already had a win. I don't think either of us have played the Jack Black card yet. So,
no, Jack Black could do a great Boris, honestly.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, I'm maybe less bullish on his ability to do accents than you are. But I don't think it doesn't. I don't know. I think he'd be fine. He'd be fine in it. I don't know.
To give you an idea, though, he's done voice acting. Like I said, I don't know how I'd go back and forth on mine, but I mean, he did Zeke in Ice Age. He did one of the Spider-Mans. He did it Lenny in Shark Tale. So I think there is some ability there to really work with the voice. He's done.
There's some there.
There's some there is what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that does it for Rocky and Bullwinkle, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And I think you won that one.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe by a hair, whatever. I don't know. It's not like a crowning, achievement for me to win The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but
no, and whatever. Real quick, I think before we move on, I just want to say, we talked about it wasn't a bad movie, right? Mm-hmm. And the writing was bad, and I think the real problem was that who was the audience?
Yeah, no doubt. Because Rocky and Bullwinkle were not. I mean, they had a little bit of a resurgence with Dave Coulier, maybe, to where like the Full House fandom might have been like, oh, sure, is Dave Coulier doing the voice of Bullwinkle? Then I'll see it for sure. I don't know. But I mean, aside from that, there wasn't really a big clamoring, I don't think, for Rocky and Bullwinkle.
No, and for those of you that are unfamiliar with the original, it really was a parody and making fun of. Now, now there was a lot of things to it, right? It was how Rocky Bullwinkle was broken down was really, really innovative for a cartoon because they'd have kind of the story Rocky Bullwinkle. Then they cut to something like Dudley Do-Right or Fractured Fairy Tales or Aesop's Fables. And then, kind of they had all these little things, and it was a parody of what was going on with basically the Cold War. It was all about the Cold War.
So Dudley Do-Right was actually part of the Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends then, huh? So I mean, I didn't actually see them back to back. Probably, I just saw a Dudley Do-Right bit in the middle of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
You saw Dudley Do-Right in the middle of it. Yeah, it was Rocky Bullwinkle. It was Bullwinkle, Rocky Bullwinkle and Friends. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so the thing with it was that you have this, in 2000, you have now a bunch of kids that don't know what the Cold War is, don't know what it was. And, I just think that I feel like that could have been more along the lines of Cool World and geared more towards adults that would have gotten it.
I think it was prematurely meta. I think it was too meta too early. Like meta humor wasn't what it is now.
No,
so I think that's part of what worked against it. So, okay. Anyway, so that's done.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. All right. Well, let's go to a break, and then we have I teased it earlier, a brand new game that we have never played before that we are going to unveil on the other side of this advertisement.
Have you ever tried to eat healthy, but it's like, whatever, it's too hard? Can't even do it. And then you're at the grocery place and all the vegetables are like there, and you don't know where to start? Then suddenly you're buying Hot Pockets instead somehow? Just stop. Let us here at Gorson Foods do the thinking for you by sending you a bag of random, healthy food items in the mail each week. Cilantro? Where do I even find cilantro among the wall of green plants at the store? No one knows. It's like literally a jungle in there. Gorson Foods will find it for you and have it delivered to your doorstep. Want to try kale, but you have no idea if it's a fruit or vegetable or whatever we've decided avocados are? Gorson's Food will solve that mystery. Sign up today to receive Gorson's Food bag of healthy stuff delivered weekly and begin to see a world beyond Totino's pizza rolls.
Welcome back to Cast That Movie, and we are over the hump and about to start the back half of our episode, and we have a brand new game to unveil. So again, what we've been doing. So what we've been doing is Is This Where Are They Now? And that's been fun. But this time we're going to shake it up and introduce a new game. And it's a very, very, very basic concept. The game is called Top 3. And all we do is we each give our top 3 picks, having not shared them ahead of time, for any particular category that we designate for this for the given episode. And this first round, in this first episode using this game, is going to be top 3 celebrity male man crushes, I guess.
Yeah, good thing I'm not wearing pants for these games. This is so funny.
Right. Now, man crushes, that runs the gamut. Some people it's literally, I want to have sex with this actor. Some people I just want to hang out with them. They seem like a cool dude. And some people are just like, I just like to see everything that they're in because, I don't know, something about them. Kind of like David Duchovny with Gary Shandling. There was just something about him. Something about him. So you want to start, or should I start on our third top man crush?
Oh, I'll let you start on your third.
Oh, okay. Well, this will be no surprise to anybody, but I'm a huge fan of this actor. He's a weird-looking guy, kind of, and definitely got an off-kilter performance type a lot of times. There's a simmering intensity there that's, for me, very intoxicating and makes me want to watch his work. I went with the incomparable Michael Shannon for my number 3.
That is no shock to me. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you love him. My third one kind of snuck in recently. And I have to respect fresh meat. Oh, he's so fresh meat. You know me, I love all things nerd.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that this guy is good looking and is a nerd, like, just shot him up for me. Mm-hmm. And it's Harry Cavill, the Witcher himself.
Henry Cavill, you mean?
Henry Cavill.
Yes.
Henry Cavill. Sorry, he's Harry.
He is Harry, but that's another
Harry. That's another story. Yeah. He's a total nerd, and yet he's awesome. And I was really enthralled with his. I'm a big Witcher fan. I've read the books. I've played the video games. Well before the Netflix series came out. And he did the same thing, and I just think he did it so faithfully. So yeah, that's my third man crush.
If I'm not mistaken, too, I believe he grew up. He was overweight when he was young.
He was. Yeah, he really put himself in the shape. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Those are 2 hot dudes. Let's move on. My number 2 choice for man crushes is. Shares a lot of similar characteristics with Michael Shannon. Sorry, the little burp stuck there. With Michael Shannon, this is why you're not supposed to drink when doing a podcast, right?
Right. I drink soda all the time during our podcast and coffee. So yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them. I'll just get to it. I mean, everything I said for Michael Shannon can be said for my number 2 pick, and that is Viggo Mortensen.
He was on my short list.
As he should be. I love him. Yeah. But there's someone else that, for me, my number 2, I don't know why. There's something about this guy. I don't know why I love you, but I do.
I can't quit you. But if he's in a movie, or if I find he's in a movie, I'm going to seek it out. And whenever I watch him, I just get enthralled. I believe he's the character. I think he's a tremendous actor. Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, definitely. That jawline just goes on for days. Am I right?
There's something crazy. Like there's a magnetism to the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a big wiener too. If you ever seen the movie Shame.
I've seen everything of him, so yeah. He does. The guy's hung like a horse.
Yeah, good old Michael Fassbender.
Yeah,
all right,
too bad my hemorrhoid surgery. I can't take it anymore.
Oh well,
it is what it is.
Dare to dream.
Yeah.
So my number 1 pick, my number 1 pick is arguably the best looking person on the planet. I could make a case for him. He is, I think, flawless. Like in his looks. He's also somebody I've become a very big fan of in his work. Didn't start out so much that way, but the looks are always there. But now the talent has come around to catch up with the looks, and he is the total package. My number 1 man crush is Chris Evans.
I think mine will be no surprise.
No,
to you.
I can guess. I'll let you introduce him.
Yeah.
But I know who it is, yes.
You know who
teased it in the past.
Yeah, you've teased this in the past. I am a heterosexual male. But this guy, I would fuck in a heartbeat. Go ahead.
Is it Benedict Cumberbatch?
Benedict Cumberbatch. I would make him my submissive bottom bitch in a heartbeat, dude. The dude is just got everything to me. He is just brilliant. He is. I can't think of a bad fucking role, minus the fact he can't say penguin. And if you haven't looked that up yet since the last time we talked about it, you really need to do that because it is fucking great. I watched him on interviews with Graham Norton and other things. He just seems like a genuinely nice dude, and he is just a powerhouse actor.
I guess him and Martin Freeman didn't get along at all when they made Sherlock.
No,
I think that was
but
more on Martin Freeman, right? Like he's kind of more of a douchey guy.
that's the impression I get.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think Martin Freeman, some of that snark that comes through is part of his personality. Whereas, like with like Doctor Strange, by far was my favorite of the Marvel movies, and solely put that on Benedict Cumberbatch playing that so faithfully to the comic. I felt.
Yeah. All right. Well, solid choices all around. Those are 6 very, very handsome, talented, because we appreciate them not just for their bodies but for their talent as well. Men. So that was fun. I think we'll continue that and maybe do another top 3 next episode, or maybe an entirely new game. I guess you just have to tune in and find out.
And I think if we do the top 3, we gotta do things like that, where it's got to be top 3 and then something awkward like that or unusual.
Oh yeah, we're not going to do like top 3,
action
stars or of the 80s, something lame.
Yep.
All right, let's move on then to our original dream project and the casting thereof. So as you teased earlier, we are casting a movie based around the true story, the genesis of the late night comedy sketch show Saturday Night Live. Before we talk about it, though, what is your favorite era of Saturday Night Live? Everybody's got theirs. What's yours?
God, that's a tough one.
It is tough, right?
It is really tough because I've been watching Saturday Night Live. I mean, I've only been around, but I've watched all the old episodes and everything like that. They had their awkward period in the 80s there, and then, and right after, like season 4, season 5 was really awkward as well.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was on Saturday Night Live. Most people don't know that for like one
Robert
season.
Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall were on at the same time.
Right, and Billy Crystal.
And Billy Crystal was on there. God, that's tough.
You want me to go? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I want you to go first.
Okay, so the era. I mean, I'm tempted to say the one that I was most impressionable was certainly the Chris Farley, David Spade, Adam Sandler, Phil Hartman era of the show. In addition to Chris Rock, and I for some reason can only think of men right now that were on during that era. Rob Schneider. Well, shit, that's another guy. But
was it really?
It wasn't really. But I don't know. I think the humor that connected with me most was probably the Bill Hader, Fred Armisen, Kristen Wiig, that cast, that group. Like I'm the biggest fan of those individuals. What they did then. Some of the sketches they came up with, Stefan was just amazing.
Oh, it was amazing. Stefan is,
written by John Mulaney, by the way.
Absolutely. Yes, and the story there was John Mulaney would change the jokes to purposely make him crack up.
Which is why he cracked up all the time. It was just reading them for the first time. So yeah, that would be, I think, and it's close. I'm a big fan, obviously, of like the Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, that era too. So, but yeah, that'd be my answer. What about you?
So, I am actually not a fan of like the super early stuff. Like the first season was very differently run, and we'll get into that. I wasn't a huge fan of that. It wasn't until about season 3 that I think it was really, really good, where you had like John Belushi, things of that nature. But the humor changes over time, right? And what made people laugh in the 60s and the 70s is not what's going to make people laugh in the 80s, and what was in the 80s is typically not going to make people laugh. But I love kind of that
again.
Yeah.
That sentence ever again. Because 80s humor is like it stopped and it did not age.
No, it didn't age well at all. That said, I do like the Phil Hartman, the Jan, was it Jan Curtin?
Jane Curtin?
No, Jan Hooks.
Jan Hooks, okay.
Jan Hooks. It was the Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, the Kevin Nealon, the Mike Myers. I love that because that's when I started. Dana Carvey, I really started to kind of see that. The Tim Meadows was coming in at that time. But I have to agree with you that the Fred Armisen, the Bill Hader, the Christian Wiig, era was genius.
Yeah, it was so good.
Was so good. You know, I think like because Saturday Night Live does kind of two things. You know, they do sketches and then they do like the commercials. And those commercials that they did like back with Phil Hartman and Jan Hooks and Kevin Nealon are fucking spot on even today, I think. Some of that stuff is still really funny. I don't feel like the commercials were as good, but the sketch comedy was better. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's around the time when Tina Fey joined the writing staff.
Yeah.
Who was on the writing staff as well. And I think she is a tremendous comedic writer.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, why don't you tell us quickly then, or don't, or take your time, either or. Tell us kind of the backstory to the beginning of SNL, and then, just involving more so the characters that we're going to be casting here today.
Yeah. So as I teased in the last podcast, I said Johnny Carson plus Second City TV plus National Lampoon's Radio Hour equals Saturday Night Live. So from 1965 until 1975, NBC ran the best of Carson reruns on The Tonight Show, airing them either on Saturday or Sunday night with local affiliates. It was known as the Saturday Sunday Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. And in 1974, Johnny Carson announced he wanted to take weekends. He wanted the weekend shows pulled so they could be saved and be played during weeknights so he could take more time off. Because he's starting to kind of get a little tired out and wanted to do things. So rather than having them play that night, he wanted them off the weekends to play during the week. So he could have like a Wednesday off or a Thursday off. Okay. Well, NBC president at the time, Herbert Schlosser, approached his vice president of late night programming, Dick Ebersol, and asked him to create a show to fill the Saturday night time slot. And that the suggestion of Paramount Pictures executive Brian Diller, they were told, talk to Lorne Michaels. Over the next 3 weeks, Ebersol and Michaels developed the latter idea for a variety show, which high-concept comedy sketches, political satire, and musical performances. By 1974, he assembled a talented cast, okay? But what people don't know is that there also was a show called Saturday Night Live on ABC. It was called Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell. And they wanted to use that name, but they couldn't. And then the Howard Cosell show got canceled, and there was a couple actors on there, including Bill and Brian Murray and Christopher Guest. They were known as the primetime players on that show. And the other part of this was there was something called National Lampoon's Radio Hour that was being played. And it was recorded in a studio specifically built in the National Lampoon's offices, and it was co-written by Bob Hoban and Nate Herman. And what's that? You there?
Were you talking to me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard you. Sorry. My apologies. Nope. My apologies. And so it was only broadcasted nationally on about 600 different radio stations, and people were free to pick it up whenever they wanted to. But there were a lot of people that, including Michael O'Donoghue, was a head writer, was one of the writers for it. So when that went under, they brought in a bunch of the writers, and the people that were involved in SCTV and National Lampoon's included John Belushi, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, Harold Ramis. Other writers were Richard Belzer, Christopher Guest. And they took in these early shows some of the sketches that had been done on the Howard Cosell Saturday Night Live and what were done on the radio hours and created actual live sketches for them. And then when they took the primetime players, and Lorne Michaels decided to make a dig by taking the Saturday Night Live name and by dubbing the cast the Not Quite Ready for Primetime Players. And that's how you got the first season and the start of Saturday Night Live. It really was from Lorne Michaels went to all these things at just the same time were starting to either pick up or fold and grabbed all these talented people and went, this is what we need. And that's what created SNL.
Oh, so it's like a thrift shop kind of like.
It was a thrift shop.
Okay, so yeah, and then so the parts we're going to be casting here are all names that are known. We didn't do any of the like lesser known writers or whatever. We got Chevy Chase, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, Jim Belushi.
No, John. No, not Jim, John.
Oh yeah, sorry,
not Jim. Not Jim. Not Jim.
Nobody wants Jim. And then Lorne Michaels, of course. So first off, then, of course, is the director visionary that we have in charge of putting it all together. I think I went first last time, or did you? I cannot recall.
Doesn't matter. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I will go first.
Okay.
So I picked a director that has experience with comedy for sure. Even, got a sitcom background, then went on to do a lot of features that were highly acclaimed, especially one in particular. He's also done documentaries, so he's kind of able to thread all those different layers of genres that you might touch upon here to really get a good biopic put together. I picked the director of Borat, Larry Charles.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
But also a director on Seinfeld and also a director of Religulous with Bill Maher documentary. So he's got quite the resume. I think he could helm this and do a bang-up job.
Right. Well, I picked someone who is good at mockumentaries.
Nice.
And someone that was involved in SNL and is a very accomplished director. From some of my favorite movies of all time, and would know what was going on and would have some insight. Yeah. I picked Christopher Guest.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Shit. Okay. All right. Yeah. Fine. Moving on. Who did you cast as your Chevy Chase?
So this is a rehash, and you can knock me a point on that one. But Chevy Chase was a smarmy fuck, and was very hated. And he actually left in the middle of the first season and pissed everybody off. And actually, when he came back to host during the third season, got his ass knocked out by Bill Murray by treating people like shit.
Nice.
But at the time, he was a comedic genius, and his ego just sucked up into his own asshole. And I think there's someone that could do that very well and portray that, Ryan Reynolds.
Okay. Yeah, I went with somebody that's actually an alum of Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
And was also somebody we didn't mention, but was a key ingredient to the era that both you and I were big fans of. For Chevy Chase, I'm casting somebody you've casted before, Andy Samberg.
Ooh, yeah, I could see him doing that as well. Okay. All right, who's your Gilda, sir?
Gilda Radner. Okay, so a bit of an obscure choice, so you may not know her. There's one role I can think of that you might, although it's not a very good representation of her talent. I went with an actress named Ari Grainer. Now where I know her best from is in a Showtime series called I'm Dying Up Here. She was it was a big cast of that, but she was one of the leads, you could say, where she played a stand-up comedian, and was excellent and very, very funny. The place I can think of you might be best to place her from is she played Lisa in The Disaster Artist.
Okay, yes.
In the Room, yeah. Again, not a great representation of her talent. But that was just kind of a crap role anyway. But anyway, she is who I would pick for Gilda Radner. She's super funny. She's got quite crazy hair that all you'd have to do is dye it brown. And I think you'd be pretty close to there.
Okay. I went with an obscure choice as well.
Okay.
Someone that I think looks the part, and that's kind of really important for Gilda. Gilda was a very unique-looking woman. And for those who don't know, she was the love of Gene Wilder's life. I went with Nina Arianda. who was in Midnight at Paris. She was she was in 30 Rock. She was Molly Graham in Hannibal. She's currently in Goliath as Patty. I think she could really do it.
Oh, Patty.
Patty.
Oh, I know her. Yeah, no, she's funny.
Yeah, she's funny.
She's
funny. She's really funny, and she's got that Gilda look.
Okay. She's also blonde, though. Would also need to dye her hair.
You need to dye her hair, but it's not like making it red. You can do a black. Yeah.
She was really good on Billions, too, if you've ever
seen it. Yes. That's her latest role is Billions. Yep.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to Dan Aykroyd, then. Who do you got cast for Dan Aykroyd?
This one would need some makeup. But when I look at the face of who this person is and kind of the demeanor, I had to go with it, but he needs some makeup to look younger. Sean Astin. Frodo himself, or Samwise Gamgee. Right. There's a similarity there between the two, and I know it's not a great pick, but go ahead. Who's your Dan Aykroyd?
I wouldn't say mine's great either. I did go with somebody age appropriate. It's also a little more on the obscure side. His name is Rich Sommer. He's from Minnesota. I should start with, not that that's worth any bonus points, but maybe it is. Because yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy
from Mad Men.
Mad Men, yeah.
Part on Glow. He's had bit parts on a bajillion. He was in the Wet Hot American Summer TV.
Yes, he was. He was Graham.
That guy. So I went with that guy.
Yep. I can totally see that. Okay. All right. So now John Belushi. Very important. Me, the big one. Yeah. Now this was to me the big one. The cast.
Yeah, and this was a hard one. I ended up going with a familiar face and just trusting he could find it. I would say there are some similarities in their looks, and there are others that we would need to, do a bang up makeup job to get him there. But I don't think it would require that much. I went with Jonah Hill.
Ooh, okay. I went with someone that I think could get the energy. John Belushi was like, for those of you that are unfamiliar, maybe, you look at the energy that, what's his name, passed away, Chris Farley.
Yep.
Chris Farley mimicked himself after him. A heavier set guy that was just larger than life.
Yep.
And I went with a guy that I think looks like, not necessarily maybe heavy, but looks like John Belushi, and I think would have the energy to play John Belushi, Charlie Day.
Oh, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. He's been in movies. He's done movies. He was in Horrible Bosses. He was in Fist Fights. He was in Pacific Rim. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's round it out then. Who is your Lorne Michaels?
You're not going to like my Lorne Michaels, but God, I think he could do it. Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, okay. I went, for my Lorne Michaels, I went back to the SNL well.
Okay.
Because I think this kind of movie, you're going to need to get Lorne Michaels involved. If not, as a producer, just get his say-so. Meaning you'd have that resource to dig to current cast and past cast without them worried about, tripping over Lorne's whatever. Anyway, I went with Beck Bennett, current cast member of SNL. Who he may have even done like a Lorne Michaels impression at some point. He's been on there quite a few years, and he's kind of got I think, a similar look to a young Lorne Michaels, just looking at the pictures.
Sure.
And he obviously would have plenty of firsthand experience, like Johnny Depp studying Hunter S. Thompson.
Yep.
Yeah, you got that first world experience being around Lorne Michaels to get all those little ticks and foibles. So that's who I went with, Beck Bennett.
All right, let's discuss our picks.
Let's do.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously going to give you the director. I mean, Christopher Guest. Yeah, I like my pick, but I like that pick better. That's a trump card more or less in my book. So you played it, enjoy it. You played
Thank
it
you,
well.
sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love Christopher Guest. I know you do too, and I think just the fact that he was there in the beginning would be huge.
Correct. So then, yeah, for Chevy Chase, I picked good old Andy Samby.
Yep,
Andy
who I like.
And who'd you pick again?
I picked Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
I question it. Because as much as I love Andy Samberg, he's more goofy. And where I think Ryan Reynolds would have more of that real snark. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Chevy Chase could be goofy too in his early SNL career. The whole Gerald Ford thing, where all he did was fall down. Didn't look a thing like Gerald Ford, but just kept falling on all over the place.
I guess I'm looking at this more from mine would be more like a backstage type of thing.
Oh, sure.
Trying to get the sketches. I want to get more what the personalities were, and I feel like Andy Samberg would be like, "Oh, I'm goofy, silly, I'm likable," where Ryan Reynolds would be like, "I can make you hate me."
Yeah, no, I get it. I'll give you that one. Yeah, I'll give you Ryan Reynolds there. I think I don't know, maybe a little bit too old, but yeah, we can work around that.
Yeah.
All right, so for Gilda Radner.
Yep.
So we both had more obscure picks. I'd say very similar picks too.
We went a very similar well, didn't we?
Similar. Oh, God, I hate to do it, but I'm going to give you this one too because I didn't even think of her, and I can't remember even what her name is offhand. I know
Nina Ariana.
Yeah, Nina. I'll give you Nina. Nina's good. Nina's
perfect.
Good.
I'm not even going to argue the Dan Aykroyd one. I'm going to give you Rich Summer because I didn't even think of him, and that's a brilliant choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Belushi now. Yeah, this one's a little bit. So yeah, I got Jonah Hill.
Yeah, and I got John. Here's my problem with Jonah. I like Jonah. I love Jonah. We're talking about SNL. One of my favorite sketches is when he hosts and he plays the little Jewish kid that goes to Benihana. And he's always like, "Hey, I'm 6. Come on!" But that's as much energy as you get out of Jonah Hill.
I would debate that.
Okay, I would debate.
Yeah, I will because I would say, have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
I have seen The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, all right.
It was pretty high octane, energetic when doing those mountains of cocaine.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just think Charlie Moore could tap into John. John
Here's my worry with Charlie though is that, and given neither of them really sound like
John Belushi. Yeah,
like John Belushi. So you got that already against, I guess, both picks. So I'm not even going to use that against you because I guess Jonah Hill doesn't really sound anything like him either. So I'll give you that one by a nose. I'll give you Charlie Day.
I will, yeah. And I will give a negative in there. You're going to give it to me by a nose. He would have to put on a fat suit.
Mm.
He would have to put on.
His castmate put on pounds for the TV show. He can.
That's true. He could do the same thing. And I think he would. I think. I see in like the comedy and like the style of him. I do see someone that maybe looked at Belushi and took some of that from him.
You know what? And if you want to get taken seriously and get your first Oscar nomination, you gotta push yourself.
You do. Yeah, you do.
Lauren Michaels. Yeah, I mean,
you're taking it.
Yeah,
you won it. Yeah.
I mean, I love Jesse Eisenberg, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Lauren was, he's way different now than what he was then. Right. Lauren's become kind of a company man. He still pushes buttons and things like that, but looking into this bioweapon, everyone that he was kind of hanging around with, this was like the cutting edge satire group that really wanted to push the envelope on a lot of things.
Well, it makes you wonder though. Like he got fired, and then they brought him back. Like how much did that change him as far as how how far outside the box or whatever he was ready to go. You know, I mean, losing your job of a show that was your baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
it went downhill after he left. It went downhill way downhill.
Right, and which is why they brought him back. But still, that might be a little traumatic.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you mentioned that I would say, I don't know, would we want? I mean, you mentioned you'd want Lorne Michaels' blessing on this one. I don't know, because I think there's a lot of shit that went on behind the scenes. Just kind of like glossing over. I mean, I dug into this, and this is the most I could find. And I think there was some shenanigans going on and how they grabbed some of these people and how they got some of these people. I mean, Michael Donahue was involved in was involved in both the Howard Cosell show, was involved in both was involved in the National Lampoon's Radio Hour. Same thing with Murray. Same thing with so I think there's some things there, maybe some skeletons in the closet, and I would love to see kind of an unauthorized, like, this is what went down, because I think there was some, like, looking at this story, there's some things that don't exactly are cohesive enough that I went, this was amicable in some of the ways that these things were done.
Sure. All right. Well, we're not going to get Beck Bennett in that case, but anyway, looks like you won that one. I took the first.
I'm shocked. I thought you were going to win that one. I really did.
I struggled. I mean, I'll admit, when they're that well known, and we've talked about it before. When you're casting people that are that well known, it's really tough, because you think you got somebody that you want, but then you think about it longer, and you're like, God, nobody would buy that person as that person. So yeah, those are always the tougher ones, when they're a little more obscure. Even when it's Pink Floyd, everybody knows the band Pink Floyd. I'd say certainly a plurality, if not more, don't know what they look like, especially outside of Roger Waters. You know what I mean? So there was that challenge. Everybody knows what Jim Belushi looks like. Everybody knows what Dan Aykroyd looks like, except maybe Gen Z. And everybody knows, what Chevy Chase looks like, especially, with his Community and his career later on there. So
yes.
Okay, that was a tough one, but it's over with now.
It's over now. It's all done.
All right. Well, we are going to take our last break, and then we will come back and put the finish on this bitch. Biatch. All right. We'll be back in a second.
Hey, Joad.
Yes, Tom.
I'm trying my damnedest to own this libtard snowflake on Facebook, but he keeps coming at me with facts and sources and science and links, and I got nothing to reply back with.
No problem, Tom. Let me pull up this new software I purchased called the Jingoism Generator.
The Jingoism Generator? What the fuck is that?
It's a program I downloaded off the Fox News website that gives me a random retort at the click of a button to any libtard attack.
Whoa, how many retorts does it currently have?
Good question, Tom. The Jingoism Generator currently features 412 retorts that will definitely hurt your libtard snowflake Facebook friends' feelings.
I love hurting their feelings.
Who doesn't? All right, you use this one, okay? Type, "You can't fix stupid."
Okay. And enter. Okay. But Joe, that doesn't make any sense. I'm clearly the stupid one in this exchange.
Yeah, you are. That's what makes it so brilliant.
Oh, I get it. He just responded with an eye roll emoji. Give me something else, Joe.
All right, let me look. Generate. Okay, type, "Don't get all butthurt, snowflake. You don't want to live here, then leave America right now." And then add laughing, crying emoji. Actually, add 5 laughing, crying emojis.
Give me 1 second. This software rocks.
Yeah, the Jingoism Generator, available on all far-right websites today. Just in time for Father's Day. You don't have to be right.
Because the bigger asshole always wins the argument.
Don't give me your reasons to stay. I won't be listening, babe.
All right, welcome back to Cast That Movie, and it is about time to say goodbye. Say goodbye. For this episode. This seems to have gone so quickly. Did it not seem to go so quickly?
This is a quick episode.
Feels a little quick. A little bit quick.
I don't have a victory smoke.
A little bit quick. Okay, but it was a good one. It was fun. It was more lighthearted, and that was by design. We've been dealing with some heavier topic matter, and we didn't want to do that this time. And mission accomplished. So really quickly before we go, we're going to tell you guys about what we have planned for the next installment of Cast That Movie. And I will start. I am going to tell everybody what our recast is for the next episode. And we decided literally minutes ago to recast, I want to say 1997, 98, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas vehicle, Jingle All the Way.
Oh, God.
Starring Sinbad.
Yeah, this was actually going to correct you already, sir. It was 1996.
Oh, wow. It was way out.
That was a bad movie. That was a bad year for movies.
That was so bad. So that was going to be a fun one to re-envision and hopefully turn into a holiday classic, since it definitely is not now. Tom, why don't you go ahead and then tell everybody what is the original dream project that we're going to be casting next episode?
Yes, this is something I wanted to do for a couple episodes now, and we're just going to get to it. It is the Theranos story, the story of Elizabeth Holmes. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'm not going to spoil much other than this is fucking bananas. It is crazy how it tells the story of how a dropout in college became the first female billionaire CEO worth $9 billion, and how today she is worth nothing.
Bananas. Bananas. Okay. So yeah, that's some very different projects for sure. So some variety to the next episode, and then we'll obviously play a game. Not sure yet what that's going to be, but again, you got to tune in next episode, and you can find out firsthand. But I think I am good for this episode. Tom, do you have anything you wanted to add before we say la vie?
Feliz Navidad. No, I got nothing.
All right. It's Christmas in May. All right. We will be back.
Voldemort.
Yeah, fucking Voldemort.
Fucking
we will
Voldemort.
be back when we are back. And in the meantime, like, subscribe, share, talk to people. Word of mouth helps. Force people to listen. Tie them to a chair and put earbuds in their ears. And whatever it takes. We need listeners. We need you guys to help us out. Tom, I'll let you have the last word.
Last word. I got nothing, bro.
Perfect. All right. Lovely.
See ya. Bye.